Hello, everybody. Welcome to Women's Biz Global. I am super excited to have you sharing with us around the globe today. I have two amazing ladies here to share on our Mother's Day special. How awesome is that? Their names are Hayley Clarke and Karen Platt. So first of all, welcome to the show, Hayley and Karen.
Thank you, Annie.
Thanks, Annie.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, so thrilled to have you on board. And we are going to be talking about your amazing business, actually, called CandleXchange. And why are we going to be talking candles this Mother's Day? Because let's face it, who isn't going to be beautifully rewarded with a lovely candle from one of their kiddies and then thinking, what actually happens with the base of that candle? So we're going to talk about that because here we are in Oz. We've actually just met up. I meet people from around the world, and we actually live seriously 3 kilometers away, and we didn't know that until we were introduced by this show. So I just love the laws of attraction. And here in Australia, where we're presenting from, it is predicted that we spend $925 million on Mother's Day gifts. And these two amazing Sydney mums are behind the world first circular economy venture. They'll have to explain that to us, and social impact enterprise called CandleXchange. All right. They have an enlightening solution for the Australians upcycle. What do we actually do with this household clutter, these extra, candles that actually come in, someone buys them, partner comes home, kids give you one, you buy one for yourself, you're there enjoying them. What actually happens to the planet when all of those candles actually get finished and chucked into landfill? So these ladies are all about sharing about what to do with that situation, and they also, through the sales of their business, help women who are survivors of domestic violence. So I absolutely love everything about that, and I welcome you ladies to this show today. So everybody watching live, wherever you are in the world, definitely get engaged in this conversation. Write some comments, reach out to any of us. You'll see our websites and contact details on the scrolling screen. So you can find the ladies through candlexchange.com.au, and you can always find me at womensbizglobal.com. So let's just kick off the show, ladies. This Mother's Day, and pretty much every day, all right? How are you, through your amazing business, enabling all of us Australian families at this stage? Let's think this can go global. So if we've got any financiers, just call on in. How can you help us do your bit in saving the planet and provide some hope to women and children who are survivors of domestic violence?
So Mother's Day is obviously one of the largest gifting periods of the year, and about approximately 2 years ago, we were all in lockdown, and Hayley and I noticed that we had clutter, and we had a sustainable fashion brand at the time, so we were quite conscious of our contribution to, I suppose, consumption and waste. But the conversation started around how do we enable a more sustainable candle offer that doesn't contribute to waste? And Hayley, studying circular economy at the time, came up with this idea of the burn and swap model, where once you burn your candle, what do you do with the container? And we had feedback from everyone saying they clutter up my ward in my cupboards, or I put them in the bin, or I try to donate them, but I don't know what to do. So the model that we've introduced addresses two environmental concerns. One is the container. So once you use that candle, you can return that container to us. We reuse that, and then we incent you to do that by giving you 30% off. But we also heard a lot of feedback around, I've still got all these other branded candles at home that I've either used or I'm in the process of using. What can I do with those containers? And that leads us to, I suppose, the social side of our business called UpCandle, where we accept donations of other branded candle containers that are in good condition and nice and clean, but we refill those and we donate them to a number of organisations supporting both domestic violence survivors and refugees. I suppose there's one key point also around the environmental impact is we're big evangelists for using natural products, and our candles are 100% natural soy. So part of our work is around educating people around the choice of candles that you choose. If you are going to buy another brand, to keep an eye out for natural products such as soy, beeswax, or coconut. Not engage in the blends with the paraffin wax or anything that's palm oil based.
Wow, wow, wow. I've just got so much going through my head. Consumer of candles. Like, seriously, when I go, and I'm not going to give away brands of where I bought them, but I'll do that classic. I'll be in the local shopping department store, or I might even go online. I'll go, I just need some candles. And so I'll pretty much just open it up, do the sniff test. Like, I'm sure I'm not unusual in this way. Like that one, oh, that's too citrusy. Oh, that's too strong. Oh, that one might give me a headache. Blah, blah. That's my little check. And then I come home with my candle. Now, I'd love you to actually unpack that for ourselves, those novice consumers of candles who might not be at that depth of understanding that you are, and go, when you're actually going, how will I know what's in this candle? Does it, so when you're saying don't have paraffin and other things, what's the damage to the planet? Why is that a choice straight away before we even get onto the actual glassware?
Okay, so the different waxes. So I talk about the different waxes as talking about the natural waxes and then the synthetic waxes. So the natural waxes, as we talked about, are soy, beeswax, coconut oil, then you have palm oil, and then you have your synthetic, which is paraffin wax. Now, paraffin wax is a byproduct of crude oil. And the reason why it's used is a couple of major reasons. One, it's cheaper. Two, it lasts longer. So it's a lot more stable than using a natural wax. So a natural wax might only have a use by date of 3 to 6 months, where a paraffin wax will last for a very, very long time. So from a business's perspective, it's a lot more beneficial and financial for them to be able to use paraffin wax. However, it is crude oil, a byproduct of crude oil, and also it has proven to have toxins in it. So when you're burning it in your home, there is toxicity that comes from the paraffin wax. Now, the way to be able to tell is when you look at buying candles, you'll see that they will be transparent about the wax, but a lot of them, even some of the best candle companies in Australia, I shouldn't say best, well-known candle companies in Australia, will say a soy blend. Now, that blend is alluding to the fact that it's most probably paraffin that they're blending with to be able to stabilise the soy. So, yeah, for us, we go 100% soy. That's all we use. It has no additives. It's just pure soy. But for that, yes, the length of time is 3 to 6 months. And look, the burn from 3 to 6 months is still fine. It's just, it will calcify a little bit. So it's not visually as attractive of what you will see as a paraffin wax.
This is so educational. I hope everyone's loving this education.
Oh, I can tell you,
Get us started.
I know
I've got specs on, and I'm also looking at the back of my lovely container, which basically is just a main brand. This one's from Dusk. It says Soy Collection. And then I'm even just reading the fine print. It doesn't say anything about the types of waxes, which you're thinking if it actually was a good one, it'd probably have it'd promote that. So I'm automatically feeling a little bit naughty, even though
there's kind of 5 steps. You've got the lid there as well. So lids, we love the lid to put over our candle once you blow that out. Unfortunately, both those components are not recyclable.
Yeah. So let's move on to that, ladies. So so that's right. I don't know where that goes. Is that recyclable, or do I just chuck it in the bin? So you've got millions of these candle bottle, containers. Just that's gone. Then you've gone and went, oh my goodness, how many ladies are getting these, and men, getting themselves a candle regularly? But here we are on Mother's Day going, you know what? I'm expecting to get a few from my 5 adult children. What do you buy, Mum? Buy her a candle. And then what do I do with it? So I'm going to unpack your company in a minute. I'd love to do the backstory, though, of what was the aha moment that you two ladies went and said, here we are doing our corporate lives, and all of a sudden we're going to get worried about candles and what's happening with their glassware. Did you have a moment that you suddenly opened, went to drop one in the bin and went, how many of those are going there? Or have you had an environmental sort of passion for a long time? What was your aha moment? Because I love sort of unpacking that, because other people will then go, we want to know what the drive is. We want to know what your core, desire was behind making a company that actually is going to fix this problem.
Well, it's funny. So, and it comes from as a woman, having multiple things going on in your life. So like you, Annie, I study, so I'm doing an MBA in circular economies. And we also opened up a shop because we had a sustainable clothing brand. So we opened up a shop throughout COVID. And I also burn candles. So I had 3 of these different things going on. Karen and I decided that we would bring candles into the shop as an extra product to be able to sell alongside our clothing brand. And I went out to the market, had a look at what the candles were. Nothing really took my fancy. So I thought, oh, how hard is it to learn how to make candles? I'm very creative. I love doing that kind of stuff. So I taught myself how to make candles, took a few months, took major mistakes. And then I also had my study hat on with my circular economy. And then I had consumers coming into the shop as I'm selling these candles. And Karen and I started to see a real trend with the consumers about, what do I do with all my old candle containers? Are they recyclable? And I'd also worked through a whole lot of different containers to decide what we wanted to use. And then it all just clicked together. It was like, this is a phenomenal opportunity to show an example of a completely circular business. So yeah, it was a mixture of my studies, it was a mixture of our shop, and then a big component of consumer feedback. Just was able to put that idea all together, and that's where CandleXchange was came out of. I remember I was driving in the car and I rung Karen, who freaks out every time when I ring and say I have an idea, but that was the start. I have this amazing idea, and I talked her through it, and she always, as she does, says, Hayley, I'll always support you. Let's give it a try. And so, yeah, off we went. And that's where CandleXchange came from.
I absolutely love that story. And I'm a woman who has many, many random ideas, and also ones that extend on what you're doing. And that's what I love here, that you've actually got a business. You've already got that it relates. It's an extension of that could actually work. And the fact that, yeah, that's right, it required masses of, trial, error, failure, learning curves. I love that. And I love women in business who are actually happy to share that, because like anyone making a new recipe for anything, Donna Hay doesn't just suddenly come out with an amazing award-winning cake, right? So it does actually require that. I also love what you shared there, that you actually tapped into your customers' feedback on their concerns, because when we're in business, you can be so into, I want to do this for my reasons, but suddenly when you start listening to them, and I know just that the backstory before we actually came online, everybody, my hubby had actually gone into your store and bought a candle and came home and proudly went and said, Annie, I've got this, I found this new idea that you can actually buy them and recycle them back, and chatted to the ladies. And I think that's just so great that you're also educating the public as well. One, he must have been drawn to actually go, or whether he went in accidentally, I don't know. But 2, you're then having those conversations, and you're realizing the pulse of Australia's social conscious, environmental consciousness that says, we need to do this better. The next thing I'd love you to share, though, is then how does this help people who've survived domestic violence? So are part of your profits going towards them? Are you giving them candles to feel better? Like, what does that actually mean from a business perspective?
That was my turn to ring Hayley with a big idea, which I don't get as many of. I'm the implementer, not the ideator. So I rang Hayley one day and said, how we just get so many people come in and say, I just don't know what to do with those containers. I've got an idea about what to do. At the time, I was chairing a charity that worked with about 65 agencies across Sydney, rehousing people that had either been homeless, in domestic violence situations, and refugee resettling, and we're upcycling furniture. So again, it's just a natural extension of things that we're involved in. I feel like all the pieces of our lives have come together. My background, in fact, is customer research. So we were leaning into the customers and we were listening. And I think we were very tuned into the problems that people were telling us were both environmental, but clutter in the home. And what I'd seen in the organisation that I was chairing was that there is enormous amounts of waste, that if you can be selective and pluck out the good quality items, they can really uplift people that have had a hard time. And often those items are quite functional, whilst a bed and a dining table, a washing machine, a fridge are absolutely critical to set up a new home. The idea really was if we could just add that candle, it would just make that experience just a little easier. We use the tagline "lighting up the home" of survivors, but candles are quite nostalgic. A smell can be quite uplifting. They can be relaxing. They can signal, a happier time. And we just saw it as a really simple solution to our customer problem. We've got some corporate sponsors that help us. So we have people that are wanting to support in this space, and it gives us a mechanism to do that, and allows our customers to feel good about consuming candles. And then the ones that they may have been gifted, continue to be gifted, that are not our brand, they can bring in, we can refill, and then we donate. At the moment, we have 8 organisations we work with and donate, and that is for various reasons. They may be women that are continuing to sleep rough, and they'll use that candle as a gift for someone that might be helping them couch surf, as an example, or gifting a family member at Christmas. It might be someone moving into a new home. It may be refugees resettling, and in other circumstances it might be to support volunteers. We work with those organisations in multiple ways. They get the candles, we upcycle, but we also run workshops on candle making as part of the wellbeing programs for a number of shelters, the local ones down here, Northern Beaches Women's Shelter, and we also donate candles to sell. And we also have a lovely couple of organisations that have purchased candles to sell that are branded on the bag, so that they can fundraise as well. So for us, that's very aligned to our values. I think that's what's so exciting, is to get involved and get frontline and see the joy that a simple thing like a candle can bring. But it just makes sense, and our customers love it. So to us, it's just a no-brainer, but it has a significant impact on waste. We've removed, I suppose, 2 tonne of waste that was destined for landfill. We're just giving an extension of life. Doesn't mean it won't end up there long term, but we're extending the life and just trying to bring a bit of joy to people that have had a rough time.
Oh, I love you ladies. You're just, your heart and soul is just palpable. And I love that idea too, that, you can be helped with a lounge or a rug or something. Candle's personal. It just gives that message of love and care, and it's something just for you. It's not just so that you can provide. Often, these mums are also caring for others, but it is that it really is just for you. And I totally love that. So I'd love to ask you next then, what makes CandleXchange unique? All right. So you've created this concept, this business. Well, what actually makes you unique in the market from a circular economy venture and from a social impact perspective?
Sure. So from a circular economy perspective, there's 3 different principles in the circular economy. There's recycling, there's reuse, and there's regeneration. So for us, the principle that we tap into is the reuse principle. So the way that CandleXchange actually works is you buy a candle, you take it home, you enjoy it. When you finish, you either post it back or come into the shop and exchange it. And on the spot, you exchange it for another candle at 30% off the original price. So we don't have to carry the cost of the container anymore, because we'll actually be reusing that candle container. So everything that, every candle that we pour is, for us, we want it to come home so that we can actually reuse it and put it back out there again. So that's where we really lean into the reuse component of the circular economy. So from a uniqueness perspective, yeah, we're the first in the world to actually be taking this model, which is great. We've now expanded it to diffusers. We also do it for essential oils. And we have also now just introduced hand creams and room sprays. So all of them work on the same model, that you bring it back, you swap it for another one, and everything becomes 30% off. So that's where the uniqueness comes from with CandleXchange. And some might say, yeah, it's just candles. How much are you helping? But at the end of the day, what people don't understand is that candle containers cannot be recycled in this country. So over 4 million candles are sold in this country each year. 4 million containers end up in landfill. And the reason for that is because they're made out of tempered glass. So candle containers have to be put through a heat proofing process, which is called tempered glass. And for us, we don't have any recycling plants in Australia that actually do tempered glass because it's just not cost effective for them to do it. So we have plenty of glass recyclers, but they will do more of the fast moving consumer goods that you might see for wine bottles, etc. But candle containers, given it's tempered glass, they have nowhere to go from a recycling perspective.
Oh my goodness. I want everyone to start thinking about that. 4 million of these containers, those of you who are watching and not listening, I'm just pointing to a candle container here, are just going into landfill. And even if I thought, oh, surely it's in the recyclable, so I'll just put it into the glass, assuming we can't actually recycle tempered glass. So it's not going to happen. They're all going, 100% of them are all going into landfill. That is the guarantee.
To add to that, Annie, also all of the packaging.
All of
so
the packaging.
46% of 46% of landfill is attributed to packaging. So we've eliminated packaging, single-use packaging, and now sell our candles in reusable bags. They're jute bags, so nice and natural fibre. They're biodegradable in the long run, but in the short term, you can use it for other purposes or transport the candle to and from that swap model. But I think that's something else to be conscious of is, we think about boxes can go in the recycling, but not if they're glossed.
Yes.
So we were pressured to have boxes in the beginning by customer feedback, but we've taken a hard stand now, and we make these beautiful jute bags with another social enterprise.
Oh, fantastic. I know that because that's it. You just go, I just love the way it comes pretty. But is the pretty worth it? That's the decision that you've got to start making for ourselves. Yeah. And it can come in another way. It doesn't have to come in a brown paper bag. It can actually be made in a different version, which is then biodegradable and so forth. Oh, my goodness. So next question. Tell us about your biggest hope then for the future. You're in business. What hope do you have that by running businesses in this way, by helping save the planet, what's your big dream for the future?
So I would have to say it comes down to, my hope is for a more conscious consumer. So there's a lot of studies around the world that show that customers want to be buying more consciously. So my hope is for the future that we see that come to fruition, because the more they support businesses that have social impact, that they have sustainable impact, the more it'll push the bigger organizations to follow in that footstep, to be able to deliver more sustainable and more social impacting models to the world. And I think if as businesses we all take part in being able to focus on not just the bottom line, but also the sustainable and the social side, then I think the world will be a much better place. But for that, it is both the consumer that needs to really follow through and make those conscious decisions when they're buying products, and then it's also businesses focused on doing better than what they currently are, than focusing just on the bottom line.
Which brings me to that concept of this is what we want, but there's got to be challenges with that. And are you saying it's actually with the consumer? It's actually consumer education, bringing people on board. How are you navigating that sort of challenge to be able to achieve the dream?
Do you want me to answer that one?
Sure.
It probably goes to our partnership. Hayley's the dreamer, the ideator, and then I have to work out how it gets done. So I suppose one of the biggest challenges around the conscious consumer is actually making the choice and acting on it. So education has a very big part to play, and we take that quite seriously. We're very active in it. We love working in our store. We get out to different events. We do a lot of corporate engagement and activations in organisations so that we can be talking about, I suppose, the challenge we're trying to tackle and educating people on something that it's quite easy to engage someone in a conversation about candles because most people love a candle. We're doing that to really engage in a broader conversation around let's not rely on recycling, let's think about reusing. The biggest challenge to doing that is us actually making the change ourselves. We know behaviour change takes some time. We've got to create new patterns. We saw it with the shopping bags. You know, Hayley keeps saying to me, if people can take a green bag to the shopping centre, they can take a candle container back. But our challenge is if it's not convenient and something gets in our way, then we're not going to do it. So that would have to be one of the bigger challenges in driving this sustainable and, you know, conscious consumerism, is actually getting us to do what we say we're going to do. All the research says we want to be better, but we have, our job at CandleXchange is to make it really easy for you to do that. So that there's less barriers in the way. We're making it cheaper, so there's a financial incentive. In fact, we're sharing the savings in reuse with our customers, but we've just got to make it super easy for people to make that change. And we'd love to see that across lots of categories, not just in the fragrance market, but we want to be evangelists for reuse, not rely on recycle.
Yeah, that's right. It's a start, and getting a concept from a business perspective that, you know, you're in one suburb of Sydney, Australia, and, you know, so I'm your definitely likely consumer, but you're 3 kilometres down the road, so it's not hard for me to actually go, oh, okay, well, I've now been introduced to this concept. I'm going to take my candle container back. But you're also wanting to then have a business that then can do that across the country, or you can have a global perspective. Right. So then, you know, those people can't just walk on in. So you either therefore have to have a good postal situation or actually partner up. And I love that concept in business, that you then, you know, you actually have to get alliances, different companies and others that can then have that offer from their place, and then it happens at the back end, so it's easy for the consumer. Everything we do in business has to make it super easy for the consumer.
And I think when we talk about challenges, that has been our biggest challenge for CandleXchange is reverse logistics, because to live in a circular world, reverse logistics is a key component of being able to promote reuse, because reuse is the number one principle for the circular economy. Reuse completely outweighs recycling. Recycling should only be used when a product has completely got to end of life, and end of life isn't one use. And so for us to be able to promote reuse, and I think CandleXchange, yes, it's a candle company and we're very proud of that, but for us it's also an example of how you can take a product and be able to transform that business model in a circular way, and be able to do it in a profitable way, but also a sustainable and social way as well. So we really aspire to inspire other companies to be able to look at it and say, okay, let's rethink how we can do this. But reverse logistics will be something that, you know, we will continue to work on, and it will mature as the market matures. But that's one of the hurdles that we
it's
have
fair to
with
say
circular economies.
In the US and Europe, there's certainly strides ahead of us. So there are organisations that have a logistical solution. We have one on the Northern Beaches in Sydney with Bundle Fresh. They're a partner of ours. They are delivering home groceries and fresh food from multiple vendors. At the same time that they're delivering, they can pick up, and there's no incremental cost. The challenge is when you are sending a courier two-way, there is a cost burden to doing that. But our courier system here in Australia is quite challenging. And we want to, and that's me saying that politely, we want to deliver an exceptional experience. We're relying on some partners to do that, and we're very looking forward to the Australian reverse logistics market growing with us. We're probably just a little bit ahead of our time, but as you mentioned, partnerships are absolutely key, Annie. We go into organisations and we go into different marketplaces to try and eliminate as much of that transport. In the next couple of weeks, we've got some corporate engagements where we will pop up. We do that every 3 months or so in an organisation so that their staff don't have to go to our store or do it online. They can come and stop at that point of presence as well. So we're trying to look at creative ways, and we throw in some candle making workshops at the same time to
it sounds super fun. I'm going to have to do
and inspire.
I should come with my daughter-in-law. She's a big fan, and she would definitely upstage me with her skills. But I think it would be super fun. And I love what you shared there. That you're women on a journey of evolution. You're pioneering a space. You're real trailblazers, but you're also realizing that there's different parts of any business that you then have to think through. How does it actually work? And another example is that, because I know you mentioned shopping bags. That's a classic one for me. They took away in Australia our shopping bags, our plastic bags, and then they replaced them with really heavy duty shopping bags that would take like hundreds of years to biodegrade, which is worse because if you don't use them 50 million times, then they actually are worse than probably the old little ones that you used to have. So there's the concept then that you have to do a culture shift, that everyone then brings their tote bag and other bags, but how many people do that? So you can, the statistics on our shopping bags are actually that what we've got is worse than what we actually had originally. But it's because it had a failure to plan its process. And so what you're actually doing is you're acutely aware of these models that you go, okay, well, there's an aspect of making something possible, then educating, and then finding ways that it then becomes cost effective, which is super powerful.
The model that we really love is the old Soda Stream. They've absolutely done very well on the swap and go. So a lot of our principles are based on the swap and go. We watch their distribution. We watch that industry more so than we do the fragrance industry, because they're trying to solve the problems that we are in terms of
That is a fantastic example. I have a Soda Stream, so exactly that. I like the concept that I just take my bottle out, I drop it down to Bunnings, I then get another one, or I can go to Coles and get another one. But that concept that you can return and just level up, and it is convenient. And that concept works because there is one in all locations. It is achievable. You've got to make it not too hard for someone to be able to do that. If you can make that get a big tick, then it's like, I want to, it's a little bit of extra effort, but I'm happy to do that for the cause and for the planet. So I love that. Oh my goodness, this conversation is just so fabulous. I've got so many ideas going through my head. First of all, we have to get a Women's Biz candle and put it in Women's Biz shopping site. So I have to talk about that.
We'll do that tomorrow.
We've also got a Women's Biz summit coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's on e-commerce, and so I'm definitely going to have you ladies present at that conference as well. But I'd love to finish with, if you had a superpower, what would it be? Because you're pretty empowered already, ladies. You're pretty impressive, but what would it be to make you heart sing?
Well, I want to go out to all the women that are watching, or men, and talk about the fact that to any of them out there that's neurodiverse. So I'm diagnosed with ADHD, OCD, and anxiety. And yes, it has its challenges and has over my 45 years. But I also have to say it has also delivered some very good superpowers as well. So once I was helped and guided and supported to understand that neurodiversity and be able to channel it in the right way, it has definitely been my superpower. So that's mine.
I actually teach superpowers as part of my design thinking education work in my other life. So I go between two when I talk about my superpowers. One would be grit. And I think in this context, I think we have a superpower combination between us. We've worked together for I think 11 years now in different capacities. I think our superpowers are very complementary. Whilst Hayley is incredible at problem solving, sees that big picture, ideates. She can sometimes obsess over the problem, but also the solution. And I bring in the grit to deliver on it. Done. Resilience is there for both of us in the startup world. We need a lot of it, and we bounce off each other. So I'd say we've got our individual ones, but we also have our partnership superpower of being very complementary and very different.
Oh, I totally agree with
I'm
that.
appreciating that.
Yeah, I like it. I like that.
Yeah, and it's so important in business, right? In businesses that I've got a number of businesses. It's great. You don't want to be both the same. You actually want to complement each other, and I love that. One's a dreamer, one's the actionary, and sometimes, and both are important. You know, we can get very stuck in our own space, but you know, it's delightful to see women working together so powerfully and so impactfully. But it's also really great to recognise your differences, and that's right. That neurodiversity. I've got a whole family full of different neurodiversity.
All, Annie.
Oh my goodness. And I've decided the bow of normal is very, very wide.
So true.
You use it. I'm classic. I'm ADD. I hardly sleep. I do a billion things, but I'm not exhausted by it. You know what? That's just the way I'm wired. I get a lot done, super efficient, and you don't have to go, that's a problem. How do you use that for good? How do you complement with others that will then bring out, you know, be able to rein that in? You know, that's it. I don't dot every I. I just get great ideas. I start things impulsively. But then you also then have partners, colleagues who then can support you and join the dots. And I absolutely love that. And it's been such a joy to have you on my show today. I want to thank you, Karen Platt and Hayley Clarke, for being on the show today. Everyone who's thought, oh my gosh, I've got to go and check this out, I want you to go to CandleXchange.com.au. Even if you're in another country, go there anyway and actually just learn about the concept. I'd love you to be educated. I'd love you to reach out to the ladies if you've got other ideas, how that could actually even go global. You know what? Blow their mind with ideas. They're visionary women. Even if things aren't possible, there's, you know, all it means is not possible yet. But I always have a limitless principle. Look, I even brought that out. Oh, sorry, just dropping my glasses. On my affirmation today was limitless. I am limitless. You are limitless. We are all limitless in our what we can actually do for ourselves, for the planet, for our businesses, and you girls have actually shown that. So always keep dreaming. Have a wonderful Mother's Day, everybody. Oh my goodness.
We'll be working Mother's Day, but
selling lots of candles.
We never stop. So you ladies will be very busy on Mother's Day selling lots of candles. And now we know they're going to be have recycled.
Our mothers work with us. So our mothers are working all weekend. So that's our Mother's Day. Our daughters work.
Your mums work with you. Oh,
not formal. They just
how adorable is that? I absolutely love that.
Fantastic salespeople.
Yes,
we just wheel them out and they sell.
Yeah, because they're genuine. One, they genuinely love you and adore you and would do absolutely anything for you. But also, they're obviously then passionate about it. And when they actually just live and breathe it and love it, it's not a sale at all. So go and buy yourselves a candle, everybody. Hopefully, you'll find them in Women's Biz Shopping very soon. And definitely reach out to the ladies and have an awesome day. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Annie. Thanks very much.